It's DEW Time with Pastor Steph.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Rise and shine. You're on with this DEW Time with Pastor Steph. How are you this morning? That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. For this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. So, where were you yesterday? Yesterday was Let's Talk About It Tuesday, Church Folk Day, and oh my, we got to talk about that couple who didn't know the 11-year-old daughter was pregnant and 36 weeks, giving birth at home, and now they're under investigation. Yep, paternity test is being taken to find out if the stepdad is actually the dad of the baby. Now, the interesting part was mama to the wife and the mother. She said, you know what? Y'all making them out to be monsters. They love those children and they did not know. You know, as we spoke yesterday, there is no way in the world an 11-year-old child is going to walk around you and you not know that she is 36 weeks pregnant. Because listen, I've been around that block 3 times. There's no way you're going to go through morning sickness, the munchies, moodiness, no menstrual cycle. There's no way you're not going to know. What else did we talk about? The Louisiana Popeyes chain that is going buck wild in Louisiana. We had one instance where a manager got into an argument with a woman in a drive-thru and threw hot chicken on her, burned her face, hands, legs, and feet. And another incident, the drive-thru again, where the whole staff came out into the drive-thru, got into a car with a customer who they were arguing with, and beat her so much that she was bald. Now, this only lends to remind us that the enemy is the prince of this world, and that was the conversation yesterday. What chance do we stand without Christ as the head of our lives if the enemy is the prince of this world? If you did not realize it, there is so much, and I mean so much chaos going on in this world. He had to have given the enemy some rain, because there's no way in the world, with God making a perfect world, that if the enemy was not out here running rampant, it would look like this. And the funny part about it is, because we don't wear these hats. We don't wear the hat of unaccountability as the couple and the grandmother. We don't wear a level of, chaos in our lives like the people who are employed over at the Popeyes in Louisiana. We think we're fine. We think, oh, I'm not them. At least I don't. We live by that at least factor. And let me tell you something. The word of God says, unless you are born again, you will not obtain eternal life. Now, for those of us who don't really care about that, for those of us who it's not really an issue, for those of us where it's not really that important, then so be it. But see, I've had a former life. I've had a life before Christ, and that life is nothing in comparison to what I have in Christ right now. When things are, in our faces, we've got comfort. We've got comfort in knowing that Jesus is there to take care of it. I'm not worried. And some of you are saying the same thing. Some people say the same thing. I'm not worried either. Well, you know what? Let me say this. And I'm going to come back to this. So Shantice, make a note because I might forget. The way we make God look is not that attractive. Yes. The way we make God look, people who don't know God don't want God, because we have not done a very good job of showing who God is. We have not done a very good job of showing his power and his might. So that's going to be our topic if we got enough time after Vivian's socially conscious segment. Because, it's really, sometimes we don't look much different than the rest of the world. And that's the scary part. Yes, that's the scary part. We don't look a whole lot different than the people who don't have the Lord. And this is why people are not attracted to God. This is why people don't feel like they need God. This is why people don't feel like, they're talking about there's some urgency, but you know what? I'm doing fine. Because the perception is, based on what I'm looking at, I am doing fine. So I'm not surprised that people are not jumping for this opportunity. But we're going to come back to that conversation. I just kind of stumbled into that this morning. But Pastor Vinny, Pastor Brenda joined us yesterday. Shantice, Pastor KL, and myself had one amazing conversation yesterday. So if I were you, I'd go back and listen. Yes. Or better yet, go back and watch. Yes. Being that we're on YouTube Live and Facebook Live, you can actually watch what's going on. You don't have to just listen. Okay? So if I need to remind you, I'll do it. Make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, and this way you don't miss a thing that happens here on the Closer Walk Christian Media Network. Okay? All right. Well, it's Wow Wednesday, y'all, and we're about to get started with our girl Vivian and her socially conscious segment. So listen, go ahead and get that healthy breakfast. Go ahead and tell somebody, everybody, that It's Due Time with Pastor Steph is on. And whatever you do, don't go anywhere, because we will be.
So August is Amblyopia Awareness Month, and every year Seaworthy likes to make a few posts to talk about how important it is to have early detection vision screenings, because early detection is key. The longer amblyopia goes untreated, the more difficult it becomes to take care of. If you start patching by the age of 2, you're usually done by the age of 5. If you start later at age 5, you're usually going for a lot longer. And 1 in 45 children have to wear an eye patch for amblyopia. It's really common, and if you see someone wearing an eye patch, don't make jokes about being a pirate or it being Halloween in the wrong time of year. These kids are working so hard to try to save their vision, and it's not easy to do. And we just would love to see all of you use
Good morning, and good morning again. Welcome back to It's Due Time with Pastor Steph. And it is Wow Wednesday, y'all. Halfway through the week. We're here. And God is an amazing God, as he has allowed us to be here, because everybody didn't make it. So We're checking in right now. If you are in the room, let me know, because other than that, I have no idea. And I want to say good morning. Good morning, Kenny. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And Terrence, my king, how are you? Thank you so much for joining us. How's mom? Haven't seen her name pop up. I don't like to not see her name pop up. I hope she's doing well. Please give her our love. Hey, good morning, Brenda. The weather's changing. How you managing out there? Yeah. Maybe you like it. It's better than that 90-degree weather, right? All righty. We got our boy Serge in the house. Hey, Serge. Good morning. How are you? Another king. Good morning, my majesty. How are you? Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And we could go no further if we did not say good morning to the ladies who make sure you have us each and every morning. You have us on Thursday night. You got us on Sunday night. They are always doing their job. Let's say good morning to our girl, Shantice. Hey, Shantice. Hoping to see you in a couple of minutes. And not hoping, but looking forward to it. And our girl, Anika. You got that wig on yet? Listen, tell me when the wig, the makeup, the lipstick, and all of that kind of stuff, when, you dressed and, ready to pop up in that screen. Good morning. Thank you so much for making sure we are running smoothly every day. Good morning. And I know Miss Grace is out there. So, hey, Miss Grace. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us. So, giving God thanks that we have made it to another Wednesday. I wasn't with you last Wednesday, so we got, we missed our socially conscious segment. However, Vivian's on point this week because she's ready to give us our socially conscious segment. Let's say good morning to Vivian. Hey, Viv.
Good morning. Happy Wild Wednesday. How are you, Pastor Steph?
I am well, thank you. I'm well, thank you. How are you, Vivian?
I'm well, thank you.
Good, good. You know what I want to ask you. Go ahead, you say it.
What you got for us today?
All right.
Today on social, we are starting off with news that New York seen a 12% drop in shoplifting between January 1st and August 24th of 2025. They are saying about 5,000 fewer incidents than last year this time. They say this is thanks to new laws making it tougher on repeat offenders and what they consider properly allocated funding. So they spent $4 million on enforcement. No, I'm sorry, $40 million went to enforcement. $5 million went to tax credits for small businesses to beef up security, and heftier penalties for anyone assaulting retail staff. So this has been a citywide group project between Governor Hutchell, business leaders, and the NYPD. But before we get too excited, they're saying that these theft levels are still well above pre-pandemic times. They argue that stores are safer not because reform is working, but because of locked up products, restricted access, and stores that have shut down. They're calling it progress, but maybe it's just less opportunity. I don't know. What do you say? Is this progress, or is this just a change in the fact that so many stores have been closing and they're getting wiser about how they're stopping people from stealing? Next, we have some interesting news that this school year, the NYPD is hiring assistant school safety agents. Mostly people who are fresh high school grads under 21 years of age. They want them to help greet visitors, excuse me, monitor school entry points, and keep things orderly. They'll earn about $37,300 a year, get benefits like, excuse me, health insurance and parental leave, and even basic training in restorative justice and emotional de-escalation. Interesting. They're saying it's part of the Stop the Gap Part workforce pipeline, arriving just as the number of full school safety agents has dropped a whopping 28% in recent years. So they're thinking that this is a perfect opportunity for those who have just graduated high school, 21 years and under, and this is a great way in their minds to bridge that gap between the lack of school safety agents. This is leaving some schools stretched thin because of the lack of school safety agents, and principals are worried about emotional maturity under pressure. In other words, young adults stepping up to keep the doors safe, but we're still asking if more empathy-trained counselors might do even better for our students' real security and well-being. So again, what say you? Do you think that this is a good idea? 21 years and under, fresh graduates coming in as assistant school safety agents. Lastly, we have a bunch of stories tied all into one, because as I was searching for socially conscious stories, all I saw in the headlines were things that showed shootings, assaults, and loss of life across New York City. I saw headlines like 18-year-old was shot in Brooklyn after an argument. A woman was shot by her neighbor inside of a Brooklyn apartment building. In Lower Manhattan, a man was beaten and slashed by 3 attackers. Another man was found beaten to death in his Brooklyn apartment complex. And in the Bronx, a series of shootings left 1 person dead and 7 others injured, including a teenager struck during a community basketball game. So taking all these stories together, this paints a sobering picture of a city wrestling with violence on multiple fronts and urgent need for peace, safety, and community restoration. And I thought that this went perfect because we are in this mayoral race. So thought it would be helpful to give some updates to you all. So Mom Donnie is currently in first place in the race to be New York City's next mayor. He is holding a big lead over former Governor Andrew Cuomo. Recent polls show that Mom Donnie has 42% support, while Cuomo is around 25%. Sliwa has 12%, and our current mayor Eric Adams, lags behind at just 7%. New Yorkers will choose their next mayor on Tuesday, November 4th, and early voting has already started. So with issues like the ones that I just listed that is hitting the headlines all over the place, we need to make sure that we're out there and making sure that we're voting properly, because things like this, definitely we need to see a change. Now for our wow story of the week. Reports say that New York City is witnessing its highest eviction rate since 2018. They're saying an average of 1,500 households per month are being removed from their homes. From January to mid-August, 11,253 families have been evicted, largely because of overworked housing courts are processing a backlog of pre-pandemic or pandemic era cases. It's not more than landlords are lifting suits. Those who have actually dropped, they're saying it's the machinery of justice that is finally catching up and families are getting swept up in the waves. The Bronx is bearing the brunt of the crisis, with more than 9% of households receiving eviction notices, exposing how systematic inequities hit low-income communities, of course. So even with tools like right to counsel, many tenants are getting timely legal help because defenders are overworked and underfunded. Meanwhile, they're saying the stress of eviction isn't just a housing issue, but it's a health and a mental health concern as well. As they say, evicted individuals are more likely to have depression, anxiety, job loss, and long-term hardship. And this all ties into our previous story because with affordable housing and tenant protection promised on the campaign trail, this story asks the question, which mayoral candidate will step up with real solutions for this new crisis that has hit the headlines? This has been Vivian with Socially Conscious, giving you the news that we are following. And remember, if you have any wild stories you would like to submit, please feel free to direct message me. My username on Facebook is Vivian BM, and come back every Wednesday to find out if your story has been chosen. Thank you, as always, to our loyal listeners, our loyal viewers, and thank you, Pastor Steph.
Thank you, Vivian. Thank you. Woo. We got some stuff to talk about. Thank you so much. Let's get these ladies on. Let's say good morning to our lady Tamika. Good morning.
Happy Wednesday to you. How are you today?
Good morning. Good morning. Check them earrings out.
Oh, these old things? I got a million of them.
Yes. Always looking forward to seeing the next new earrings on your earlobes. Oh, goodness gracious. Nice. Those are cute. Those are cute. I'm not an earring person myself, but those are cute. All righty. Let's say good morning to our girl, Shantice. Is she camera shy this morning, y'all?
Trying to get that wig together.
Good morning, ladies. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Good. All right, ladies, Vivian, as always, has given us something to talk about. We're starting off with the 12% drop in shoplifting since 2024. Now, there's been some adjustments to our shoplifting sprees. They've got a $40 million initiative that took place regarding enforcement, and they've given $5 million to small businesses to boost their security. Now, from what we are hearing, some of the assistance has come through locking up some of the products, and we've talked about that here on right here on this very segment, how some of the stores are locking up some of their products, as well as there's been some store closings. So maybe not this whole 40 million initiative or this $5 million initiative, is really the answer to our problem. But does it look like we're going in the right direction, Tamika?
I want to really know how much of that is real. One of the things that I noticed, can I get a toothbrush? I gotta wait a half an hour to get a toothbrush because one of those the electric toothbrush, because people are breaking into stuff. All of the Rite Aids in my neighborhood, there's one that was right across the street, basically, is closed down because they had said to us, prior to them closing down, they had to lock up milk, and stuff like that didn't make any sense. You ringing the bell, and I have some milk, you gotta wait, because the area is already understaffed. So I really want to know how much of that is real and how much of it is because, you've had to close places or you've had to, beef up. When they're talking about beef up security, it's not manpower. It's, I got to lock up the milk and I got to lock up the bread. I mean, what kind of, do we, is it going to be something like an Amazon lockbox? You want milk, you got a key and a code. It's very complicated, and it's because, there's been so many, robberies. People just suddenly go in and just grab whatever it is that they can get and walk out. I really don't believe that that's exactly, what they're saying, but they're making it look like that's what it is.
Okay. Shantice, you were one who brought up the fact that, they had to lock up in our local Family Dollar or Dollar General. They locked up the milk and cheese, and now they want to mention that they've given out $40 million plus 5 to aid in this shoplifting issue.
What is that money going towards exactly? Is it going towards more security? Is it going towards more? Because everything, first it was mainly certain, like if you go to Walgreens, you would have certain pharmaceuticals that was locked up. Okay, that's understandable. Then you migrated over to Dollar General and now you can't get the ice cream, the eggs, the milk, the orange juice, none of those things without somebody coming to unlock the freezer. Then I remember needing detergent and I yelled from the aisle because I wasn't walking back and forth. Can someone please come and take the handcuffs off of the oil, please? I'm not walking. And they were like, the handcuffs? I'm like, yes, they're all handcuffs together. I'm not walking up here to ask, they're walking back here to come grab it and walking back up to the register. It's just too much. It's too much. So my question is, exactly what is this money going towards? Is it going towards loss prevention? Is it going toward, because I know someone who worked loss prevention for a couple of months, and they said, I ain't about to apprehend nobody who's stealing. All I'm gonna do is point. There you go, right there. He took it.
Oh my goodness, crazy.
Well, how effective is the pointing if they running about the door? At the same time, I can understand. I'm not about to lose my life over some detergent. That's not coming out my check. No. So if you're going to use that money to go towards having actual police or because I know regular loss prevention, they don't have weapons, or you're going to have someone who can carry a firearm who's now going to do security within these stores, then that would make a little more sense. But I don't know, it's too much because you don't have enough employees. So now you got a lot of the time it's the cashiers who's coming off behind the register to go unlock the stuff. Doesn't make any sense.
All righty. Viv, Shantice is asking, where's $45 million going?
I want to know the same thing because you just spent $45 million, but part of your success is because stores have shut down. So how are we counting that? How are we counting that as success? Part of your success is because I can't get a deodorant without waiting 15 minutes for somebody to come and unlock it. I went to Walmart the other day and I noticed that they now have a cashier stand in the personal care aisle.
Yes.
Because
You can't get out of there. You can't get out of there.
No, because before they would have you follow the person to the cash register and purchase your thing right there on the spot. Yeah. But what if I'm not done shopping? So now their remedy is to put a cashier stand in that aisle. So if you need something, they're gonna unlock it and you have to purchase it right then and there. That's ridiculous.
Yes.
That's ridiculous. Yes. So how are we really counting this as a success?
Yeah.
$45 million, and that was the solution.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Maybe this is why a lot of people
I don't think this money was properly allocated at all.
Yeah.
Because first of all, everybody's short-staffed. Everybody's short-staffed. So now I'm pressing this button for 20 minutes and y'all can't get somebody to get over here because everybody's everywhere else. No, this is not a win.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm with you. I don't think I would have wanted to tell somebody I spent $45 million
Right.
and then right behind that say, well, the stores are closing and half the stuff is locked up. I don't know if I want to tell people I'm spending their money. Why? Because prior to the $45 million going out, you were already locking up stuff. Prior to the $45 million going out, the stores were already closing. So, hello. Why am I sharing this information? I think it's more embarrassing than anything else. Now, here's the thing. This is how I found out that they had that register in that personal goods aisle. When I was in the store with Shawnice, that's my anybody people who listening, that's my middle daughter, and she called me on the phone. I was on the other side of Walmart, and she's yelling in the phone that the security guard won't stop following. And this is easily like 5 years ago, that he would not stop following her through the store. And I was like, well, where are you? So I finally met up with her. What happened was, this is when they had first implemented that you could not leave that department without going to the register. And she was like, what you said, Vivian, she was like, I'm not finished shopping. So I'm not gonna stop and get on a line and then have to go get on another line. They just gonna have to wait for me to finish shopping. I was like, oh my gosh, put the stuff back. She was adamant. And he left his post to follow her around the store.
One person around the store.
Yes. And I was like, all right, sir. He was adamant. She was adamant. They were at it. So it's been quite some time since this has been going on. So again, like I said, I don't think I would have wanted to tell anybody that we've just invested all this money for us not to really, like you said, Vivian, there's no achievement here. There's no win. This is sad when you've got to lock up things. Now, I don't know. Did I hear you say something about stronger? Wait, because it was a terminology you used. No, maybe I did hear you. It's like they have stricter prison rules.
Yes.
Okay, I thought I heard that.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought I heard that. So my thing is, well, what's stricter laws?
Right.
What's stricter laws? There's no room for stricter laws when you have the store closing and you have the stuff locked up. There are no stricter laws. What the laws are, you lock the stuff up. So I'm with you, ladies. You know, I don't see the win. Unfortunately.
I'm sorry, but that what you were just describing, then take that 42 million and have everyone walk around with a portable POS system. Since you want to be adamant about following someone around the store, then take it the same way now they have the servers, where the servers now walk around with the portable thing and they don't have to write your order down and then go back to the POS and put it in. They can put the order in right there on that pad that they have. You can take payments from that. If you're all that adamant, most people are paying with cards, then try to do that. But you just follow me around the store. I would have done the same thing. Well, I guess we are shopping, sir, because I'm not about to double back on the line.
Right.
So I guess you can come on. Good. Now I ain't got to look for nobody when I need to know what's in aisle 6. Good. Now, come on. Let's go. I would have done the same thing. Ain't nobody doing over that. Or y'all going to lose a whole lot more customers.
I want to ask you, ladies, what's the remedy? What's the remedy to the shoplifting issue where you clearly, because I told you, we talked about this here before, and I told you I went in the Dollar Tree, and as the lady, one of the workers was loading the freezer section, one of the managers came through and he was like, well, put this here, put this there. She was like, I can't, because so-and-so told me don't put it there because they keep stealing it. So what do you think is the remedy for this? You can't, you can't go up in the store without stealing. So not everybody else pays for your thievery. Tamika, how do you answer to this? What's your response? In other words, as a society, what's your response?
You're muted.
That's an extremely, thank you, difficult one to answer because since the pandemic, the world has gone upside down, and at any moment, excuse me, anybody is a target, um, any store. It's very difficult because what do? You increase prices on items. That's already happening, and you move things, strategically so they're further back in the store. How much farther can you move them? It's very, very difficult. And you can see that they're trying, but I honestly don't know what would be the best thing to do.
Okay. Shantice, what's your suggestion? You said this POS, which is not very likely, but how do you respond as a society to this increase in shoplifting?
Hire more security. $45 million is enough for you to hire armed security staff. We used to go to Red Lobster back when I was in elementary and junior high. When we would go to Red Lobster, my family went all the time, but that's where we would frequent a lot of the time for birthdays and graduation celebrations. And we would walk in and there was an armed guard in Red Lobster. Now, I don't know if he had to chase people out with the lobster in their hand a few times, but he was standing right there with that gun on his hip. And we've never experienced any hostile situations in there. So if it's to the point where now I can't smell good until I buy this in this department, because I can't walk around the store with the deodorant, then hire more armed guards. That's a pretty good salary, between $45 million. You can do, and not go pick up Nick's little brother go to people who take the courses and all of that. You can afford to do that now. That way you have more eyes in addition to the cameras, and it's less likely for people to steal.
Okay. Viv, what's the response? How do you answer back to this shoplifting issue?
I was thinking the same thing Shantice was saying. Hire more armed security and possibly changing whatever laws or regulations they have to where if you're a security guard, you can't touch the person and if they get a certain point and all types of silliness. I think that if they changed a lot of these laws and added more security, that can lower how many people are going to walk in there stealing. I saw a post of 3 little black boys. They couldn't have been no more than probably 10 years old in the store filling their bag with stuff and cussing at the workers, threatening them, if you touch me, I'm going off. I'm going to crash out.
Wow.
Little boys.
Wow.
Now, what little boys would have been in there had they walked in there and seen a armed security guard? They would have walked in, saw that person, and walked right back out. But because the stores are not secured, you got little boys walking in there just filling their bags with stuff. They're not scared because what cashier is going to risk their lives to stop anybody from stealing these products? They don't make enough here.
Right.
So if you pay people more and you put some security in there to actually get the job done, that'll decrease how many people are out here stealing from these stores.
Okay.
Yeah.
My somebody said something?
I did. I just thought about one of the things that they, based on Vivian's story, how they beefed up or security. When you go to Walmart and you have that little character, the computer that goes, that's one of the ways that they have beefed up security.
Yeah, I guess one of their best efforts. One of my thoughts is what you all said, just beef up the security. My other thought is change the shoplifting law. Here's why you get confidence to shoplift again. It's because you don't get caught, or if you do get caught, it's you're out. It's no big deal. It's a misdemeanor, and you're back out in the street. And I think for society's sake, I think they need to start thinking about this a little different. Right now, you get arrested for shoplifting, you go before the judge, like, oh, how much did you steal? If it's not over $1,000, it's not grand larceny and all that kind of stuff. So it's like petty theft. But your petty theft is causing chaos to the community. I think it needs to be looked at a little differently than it has been. Stop minimizing what the effect it's having, and now make it a larger issue. Because it is a larger issue. This is costing everybody. Regardless of what it's costing you, it's costing everybody. So now when you stand before the judge says, oh, you're part of a community and a societal issue and a decline. So you will now get a year. And I think if people start getting more time for these particular crimes, these little petty crimes, and stop making it a revolving door for them, because what happens when you don't get caught, or when you get caught and they let you right back out? What do? You become more savvy. You just think a little more how you gonna make this happen without getting caught. Oh, well, somebody was in that aisle, so if I wait 5 extra seconds, then I can get out the door. It's not rocket science. So I think if they start to put all of these things, put that $45 million into not only that, but again, we've talked about it before, rehabilitation comes in many shapes, forms, and fashions. Just stop throwing people in jail. But programs in the jail. Why are people stealing? For multiple reasons. So put more money into those programs, and I think it may not be an immediate decline, but I think you will slowly see this problem slow down. We've got some comments. Terrence says corporate pocket. That's one of the reasons why there's that $45 million that's sitting up out there. We can't see what it is. Serge says the big boss is losing money like his bonuses. That $1 billion is like before. Got to keep the bonus going for doing nothing. So there's a lot of issues going on here. Can you imagine, y'all, such a big issue over shoplifting? Over you stealing milk. Now we've got this huge issue. Coming back. All righty. Our next story, which is really interesting. So New York City, NYPD, they're hiring assistants for the school safety agents. Now they're doing I'm going to call it a pilot program, which 21 and younger, they're hiring them to help man the school doors, greet people, check when you're going through the mag. This is interesting because they're going to give them a salary of $37,300 a year, and they're going to have some benefits. So they're calling it Stop the Gap Initiative. And they are also mentioning that they need to be more empathy trained. Shatice, what do you think about this hiring dynamic?
Ages 21 and younger, you're just out of high school yourself. I think that's too close. That's too close. The age is right there. So already you're going to have the students trying school safety, hoping you try me because I'm not your age, but I'm real close to it, but I'm in a level of authority. So go ahead and try me if you want. And these kids are already defiant. These kids are already resentful towards authority. I don't know about this 21 and younger and you trying to bridge the gap. And even with you talking about empathy classes, you haven't really experienced life yet. And that's what, like, even with law enforcement, even with the police force, you have them in the academy 20, 21, 22 years old. And it's like, did you get a U or an S and getting along well with others in school? It's like none of this is really being evaluated enough and now you're putting this here. So I understand the need for more school safety agents, but I think there's a lot to be said about the age gap. There's a lot, when I was in high school, we weren't looking at school safety that looked like we just got finished having science class together. But when I walk in these schools now, that's what it looked like. It looked like, okay, well, all you had to do was 0 first and second period, and now you done for the day. So you get to work the rest of the day. You went and put on this uniform, and now you're working the rest of the day. That's what it looks like. It doesn't look like, okay, well, you're at least 10, 15, 20 years older than me, but yet you're still physically, mentally, and emotionally savvy enough to properly do your job. And there's a lot to be said for the fact that I can look at you and tell that you're older. So I don't necessarily agree with this program. I think it's just screaming desperation for school safety. We have to fill these spots, so this is what we're doing.
Okay. Viv, what do you think about this age mandate?
Yeah, I don't agree either. First thing I thought about is how young-minded they would be, 21 and younger. We already have the issue of people, dealing with the cell phone addiction. Now you're supposed to be there manning the door, but yet you on your phone and somebody's able to just walk right in. Another thought came to my mind: you're too busy looking at these little girls. These girls don't look their age no more, and now you 21 and younger. They too close to your age for me. Now you're distracted by them when you're supposed to be doing your job. Now you're trying to be friends with these kids rather than making sure they're not bringing in things that they're not supposed to be bringing in. It's just too much that can go wrong at such a young age. Now, school safety agents, they're supposed to go through this vigorous training. They're part of the NYPD. So I would see them taking their job more seriously than an 18, 19-year-old who just, this is an opportunity for me to have something to do, make a little money, but I'm not taking it as seriously because I didn't have to go through that vigorous training. So this is just fun for me. So I don't like it. I know where they were going. Maybe if we're closer in age, you might be able to, identify with them more, and maybe you'll respect them a little bit more. But I just think of way too many ways that this can go wrong.
Okay. Tamika.
I was thinking exactly the same thing that Vivian thought about, because your mindset is not to that degree, and you've got young people and you're young. How many times have we seen, just in regular everyday things that go wrong? You've got young educators now trying to teach students, in our school, he has a young lady who literally looks like she could be one of the students. And, the youth don't really, she had an issue in her classroom, and Al being, looking older than the students, had to de-escalate the situation, because they're looking at her like she's one of them, and how many times, can that, be shown that these young people, their mindsets are not right. You want to befriend, a student, or you're looking again for some type of relationship or some type of, however it is that you can get, and she can get over on you. You're supposed to be watching the door, but because she's flirting with you and you not even paying attention, now 3 people don't walk past, and the school is now in jeopardy. All it takes is 3 seconds for somebody to get in that door, and it's over. The whole school is in jeopardy because you're not on your post. These phones again. These phones are the things that attract everybody. You got adults that can't pay attention. You want to pay somebody younger than me to watch the door and to greet people. Half of the time, you can't even get some of these young people to say hello, good morning. And you're supposed to be manning and greeting people. I don't feel that you're going to be fully on your post the way somebody who's more mature and more seasoned. I don't care how much training you have. Your mindset says, okay, right now, be able to look at my phone, or, oh, look at that shorty, she look kind of good. I just don't feel like you're going to be able to handle the job the way that it's supposed to be taken care of. You're supposed to be the guardian of the school. So do your job.
Yeah. I'm in total agreement with you ladies. When I was listening and I was like 20, I thought Viv was going to say 21 and older. And she said 21. I was like, oh, who's that? The kindergartner?
I was just about to say they're gonna go get the junior high school students to do school safety for the high school.
No, that's like, I'm sorry. Have you checked out a 21-year-old lately? They're almost like less and less mature as the generations are going on. A 21-year-old back in my day is not a 21-year-old for the millennial, and sure not a 21-year-old for a Gen Z. All the generations are breaking down. So I'm like, well, who's man and who? So I agree. I think that the salary is phenomenal. Definitely a great initiative. But I think they need to offer that to older people, like you all have said, the just maturity level. When Vivian mentioned the guys, I was like, that's one of the things that went through my head. I'm like, okay, so the girls are more developed. They're dressing differently than years ago. So where's his attention going to be? We see older men get distracted by the younger girls and the way they dress. What in the world are you going to do at 21? This is the time in your life. Okay, let's talk about this here. There are just certain things you need to be doing at certain times in your life. And all three of you can attest to that. When by the time you get to such and such a thing, sometimes life has pushed you into a different mature zone. But you should have been here. I don't know if that makes any sense to y'all, if I'm saying it correctly. But a 21-year-old does not need that level of responsibility, in my opinion. They're hot-headed. They're ready to fight. Like you all said, the phones are a distraction. The females are a distraction. Well, let's not just put it on the men. These girls. Right. How many times it seems like more and more and more that the female teachers are being snagged for messing with the younger boys in the school, in the high schoolers. So right now, can anybody be trusted at that age to man someone that's just a couple? Listen, these kids aren't coming out of school till 18. So
and half of them are lost. 30. Have you seen some of these junior high school boys? We've gone to graduation ceremonies, and I'm looking at someone walk across the stage, and I'm like, wait, what level is this again? Wait, you're going or coming out of high school? Because I'm looking at, like you said, the development of not only the girls, but the boys, the facial hair, and I'm like, what? And I remember being in high school, and there was one, well, at that time, it felt like he was a guy in particular who, he didn't look old, but he didn't look like he belonged with us. But he was big, huge, looked like he could have been easily a freshman, sophomore in college. But he was where he was supposed to be. So that that's how a lot of these women, like you said, Pastor Steph, a lot of those female teachers get caught up because it's like they're looking at men. They're not looking at a high school student. It's not always this little, if you were to pull up the picture of the student, it looks like this little Timmy boy that's like, oh, look at little cutie. Though it look like he needs to be paying bills somewhere half the time.
Yeah. So I think they need to offer that to someone who is at least 10 years out of high school. I think by that time, you've kind of lived a little life, maybe a little more settled, and that would be a little more effective. So I don't know. What do you viewers think? Do you viewers think that it's, a good age, or this is just a little too early to be entrusting them with manning these young people? All right. So now you've got an issue of violence. Vivian itemized several incidences that took place, that was in the news, and that's throughout New York City. And this is a huge issue for New York City. And in a mayoral race, this is extremely important because this is something they're going to have to immediately address. Well, I did catch all of the percentages, but Mom Donnie, one of the runners, he's leading the way at 42%. Is Cuomo behind him, or is Sliwa behind him, Viv?
Everybody behind him. So it's
Well, I
Cuomo,
know,
then Sliwa.
okay, that's what I was trying to figure. I was trying to figure out the order, because I know he has a nice lead. So you got Mom Donnie, Cuomo, Sliwa, and then at the bottom of the totem pole you have Mayor Adams. So now this is something that they're gonna have to address. And based on what you've been hearing, because we, even if we have not had a microscope or magnifying glass up to, these runners, who do you think would be, more effective in this violence throughout New York City issue, Viv?
I don't really know if anybody's really touched on it to that extent. I mean, I would have thought the black person, but based off of our history, I'm surprised that he's at 7%. So I don't know. I haven't really heard much of them. I haven't really heard any of them really talking about it to the extent of what I was seeing in the headlines. Like, it's not just like robberies. It was like everywhere. It was gun violence. It was everything. Every time I flipped the page, it was another 5 crimes being committed. And I don't know if anybody's really looking at it that way, to where I would be confident that, okay, if this person becomes mayor, I'm confident that they're going to be able to solve all these issues. I feel like they're not really thinking about this. Because for one, we're getting lied to, talking about that the stats and the numbers are lower and all that. So I don't really think anybody's really thinking about this.
Okay. I'll come back. I'll come back to ask you that. Tamika, in your observation, whether you've had a close-up or not, between the four, who do you think might address this violence issue a little closer?
Today is the day of difficult questions. It really is. You would want to believe that someone who's already been in position, and I'm talking about the two characters who've already been in position, and I'm talking about Adams and I'm talking about Cuomo. You would think that they would be the one to address the heart of what we have issues with. I mean, and she's right. There's everywhere you look, all kinds of violence. You would think that those would be the ones that would push forward, but you're not seeing it. They're so busy arguing about, this and that, things that have absolutely nothing to do with what the problems are. Whether you live in an apartment or how much you pay for your apartment. Those are things that they're bringing to the forefront, as opposed to, what do we need? What are we as New Yorkers? How is it that you can help us? How is it that we can, feel safe? And the other thing that gets me is they keep inflating numbers or deflating. Oh, it's not that much violence out there. All right, so you don't take the train. You don't ride the street. You don't ride in your car and see people literally, shooting or stabbing, random stabbings. You would want to believe that those who have already been in position would be at the forefront. And so you would want to wish for one of the two, and of course I can't tell you who to vote for, but the ones who've already been in position are definitely not doing what they should be doing.
Okay. Shantice, you again, not that anyone's looked at this microscopically, but based on what you've heard or haven't heard, who do you think is going to address this issue the most?
Jesus. I don't know. 'Cause unfortunately, we can't even go by what they claim they're gonna do. If they say they're gonna do it and they end up doing it, great. If they say they're gonna do it and they don't, it's predictable. It's unfortunately, it's like now you just gotta like close your eyes and color in the bubble and pray the Holy Spirit leads your hand to the bubble. You're supposed to go because it's like unfortunately we're in a time now where words mean nothing at all. Like words mean nothing. It's not until you're in the position, like Vivian said, we would have just knew, or we knew off the bat once we had the other one in, like we straight in certain areas until we weren't. Thank you for nothing. So yeah, it's until they get elected and they're in the position to now show that they're actually caring and paying attention to this stuff. Because everyone can say they're paying attention when it's time, for them to, for their name to be bubbled in. They're not paying attention to how many ants are on the sidewalk. Oh, I know, because I'm the next summer, I'm gonna make sure there are 30 less ants out here, and I'm gonna make. All right, we'll see. So unfortunately. We don't know. We don't know.
Well, I'll ask this question: what do you feel? Well, let me see. Serge has a response. He says he believes Cuomo will be more effective against the violence in New York City. Okay. Well, I happen to agree with Serge. I think that based on his history, the question wasn't, his effectiveness in that area. It was some other areas that they ran into some problems with. But I think this needs to be addressed by someone who's been there already. I agree with all of you that say, unfortunately, the one that we thought would have, could have, and should have done something was ineffective. But I don't think this is a Mamdani. I don't think he's up for the challenge. I don't think he's up for the challenge. And I hate to say it this way, but I got to be honest. At his age, I think is going to work against him a little bit. I think this crime thing needs to come from a seasoned individual who knows about New York, who knows where New York has been, who sees where New York is now and has a vision for New York. I don't think Mamdani can bring that to the table. And I could be wrong. I could be 100% wrong. But I think he's getting a lot of votes for the wrong reason. So if we're talking about who's going to be better able to tackle this violence issue, my heart is with, my mind and is with someone. I need to see what you could do. And because I haven't seen anything and I'm not saying it's because there's a lack for him, but for me personally, I need to go with history here. And I think at this particular time, at this mayoral time, history needs to matter. And I could be 100% wrong, and Mamdani could be the best person there is. But for some reason, I think that we have walked into a season of, I don't think no newbie is going to really get this done. I don't think so. And again, I could be wrong. So having said that, we got to check in from Pastor KL. Hey, Pastor KL, what it do, crew? How are you? Mm-hmm. My question now becomes, what do you think they need to focus most on? We've talked about housing. We've talked about crime. We've talked about the child care. We've talked about so many things, even in this socially conscious segment alone. What do you think, Vivian? I'll start with you since you're the person at the top of this round. What do you think needs to be at the focal point above and everything? And I know they all need attention. But if somebody asked you, we'll start where you think we should start, what would you say?
I mean, being selfish, I would say schools because I'm most affected by that. I feel like the school system is so trash. So trash. Their rules, their regulations, their ideas. It's just changed so much for the absolute worst. They're getting to the point to where they want teachers to be everything in that classroom. To see it, the para, the teacher, the assistant teacher. The turnaround rate for staffing in these schools is absolutely disgusting, and it's affecting everything.
Wow.
Everything.
Okay.
And I, we've done the stories that they're talking about bringing in more for the kids. They opened up a couple of more schools in the boroughs. They're bringing back free after-school care. Those are great things. So we can get somebody that's really going to stay on that and really focus on that. I think it'll help a lot. Come up with some incentives to keep these teachers in here long term. Something. But the school system right now is absolute trash.
Okay. Listen, being biased is what's going to get us to the poll. Who's going to concentrate on what we care about the most as individuals. So yeah, it makes every bit of sense. Tamika, what do you think needs to be the number one thing addressed?
I still stand on safety. Safety is crucial. I mean, you can't even get to the grocery store, much less buy things. Safety all the way around. We are travelers. New Yorkers are movers. They ship. They take trains. And at any moment, we've always known that there was a threat or undercurrent of danger. But this is ridiculous. Every day, multiple stabbings, multiple shootings, multiple random acts of danger. It has been taken care of before. It should be addressed again.
Okay. All right. Shantice, what gets your first plug?
I say housing, because everything is affected when your housing isn't on point. There goes the safety. There goes the child care. There goes the violence. Everything is affected. And when I hear about all this money that's getting thrown towards what? So this morning it was $45 million towards what? Walkie-talkies? Put that towards investing in all this land that's out here that can be built on with nice size housing. Not you renting closets out for $2,300 a month. But investing in that, investing in fixing up. How many times have we heard, NYC has so many apartments that need to be renovated and cleaned, that's just vacant. Meanwhile, there's people who need places to live. And then you wonder why crime is up. I want to slap somebody I walk past in the street too. It's like no one is really putting their heads to what can be done. Like no one wants to be proactive. Everyone would rather sit back and watch everything happen and then say, I know how to save the day. No, you don't. Because if you don't know how to prevent it, you don't know how to then clean it up. There's a lot to be said in being proactive. So if they invested a lot more in the housing, it would help to set people up with a different mentality that they would then feel better about looking for a job, going to work. Because now I feel like I'm going to work and I'm working towards something. Have more, invest in more property where people can learn more about rent to own. And, it's not just about paying rent. I'm invested in something I'm never going to see this money again. And, all of that, like do stuff like that, and I think that would really help to now drop gems in all of the other areas. But I don't know. Nobody wants to see how they can fix up before the problem comes, because you can't, it's so a lot of times the problem becomes so huge that no matter whether you have experience or not, it can't be done. It's like you only can do one part, and then before you know it, your term is up. Now it's time to vote for the next mayor. You may get voted out because it don't look like you did anything, but you could have done a lot. You get what I'm saying? But it's from what we see, it doesn't look like you've done anything. So it's like, yeah.
Okay. We got a check-in from Kenya, Africa. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay, this is a tough one. Like you all have said, the three of you mentioned, I mean, serious areas. Schooling and education, because that has so many legs to it. Safety, because it has so many wings and tentacles. Housing has many wings and tentacles. And I think that's one of the biggest issues. Where do you start? Where do you start when you sit your butt in that seat come January 1st? You know, you can have all the intention in the world, but where do you start? Because none of the things that any of you three mentioned is one-dimensional. It sprouts. If you're talking about school, you have to talk about the teachers, you have to talk about the children, and you have to talk about the parents. There's three entities to this. If you're talking about safety, you've got to talk about the police officers, you've got to talk about people and poverty and mental illness and, you know, desperation and so many wings and tentacles. If you're talking about housing, like you said, Shantice, if you don't give people housing, you got homeless issues, you've got mental health issues. Where you going to school, how you packing up going to school. You know, Vivian has talked to her, personally about going to school while, you know, they were in a shelter. That ain't easy to be trying to deal and handle, and you going to work and kids going to school. And this is so many wings and tentacles, which really begs for us to be in prayer a lot more, because there are so many things that have to be focused on. And if you don't focus on the right thing, which is what's the right thing, where do you go from there? Where do you go from there? All right, we've got the highest eviction rate during this time. Vivian is talking about $1,500 per month. And now, Vivian, you gave $11,253 when?
Let me go back. From January to August, 11,253 families have been evicted.
That's what I thought you said, and I just stopped typing because I said, I know I got this wrong. I know she didn't say from January through August. Maybe she said August of last year. Oh my, that's 12,000. Wow, Tamika.
Yeah. And that's this year, you know.
Yes.
This year.
And that's scary, because
ouch.
That number over just a couple of months. We haven't finished this year yet. It goes to let you know that people are really struggling, you know, and the system is struggling, you know. And I think back to when it was so tight that they were saying you didn't have to pay for rent for a while, you know, and
right.
I think a lot of people got comfortable with that. Okay, I don't have to pay it. And now we're at that point where the courts are catching up, and now you're
right.
behind. You know,
yeah.
Even if you didn't pay it, you know, we even verbalized on this broadcast, if you didn't pay it, save it as though.
Right. Hold on to it.
Now you won't get to the point. Now it's getting to the point where these people have nowhere to go. And now, again, safety is now at a paramount, because they didn't think that this would catch up with them. You know, my heart goes out to all the people that are now being evicted. Where do you go? Trains, you know, out in the street. You know, these are people who were here all this time and now have no homes.
Wow. Vivian, we're about to lose you soon, so we're going to let you jump in now. What say you?
This is crazy. And the pandemic was what, 2020? So here we
Mhm.
are
5 years.
5 years later,
Yeah.
and y'all are still evicting people from when they fell behind in 2020. Now, I'm wondering if this is because the eviction was already in process, doesn't matter if you caught up, you still got to go type thing. I need more information as to how you're now backlogged from 2020 and we're in 2025 and we're seeing these astronomical numbers of people being evicted from their home from back 5 years ago. It doesn't even make sense. Now, if you fell behind 5 years ago and you just threw your hands up and you still never caught up on your rent, then I can understand it. But if you fell behind because of what was going on back then and you managed to catch up, I'm hoping that there was some leeway to those types of situations. But based on these numbers, it doesn't look like it. So this is it's crazy. And for it to be from COVID, from the pandemic, and y'all just now get into these evictions, it just seems like it'll never end. This is going to be an ongoing situation. Because how are we 5 years past the pandemic and you're just now evicting people that should have been evicted back then? So as you're catching up, it just seems like this is going to be an ongoing situation for years and years to come.
Woo! Shantice.
Yes. Housing. You got $45 million to throw towards stores that are closed. But people who need the assistance, who you can create programs that I'm sure all of these people would somehow qualify for, or put them in the position to be able to qualify so that they do not lose their living conditions, that probably they're living in homes that could use some fixing up, like if they're living in buildings or such. I'm pretty sure everything isn't to the point where the landlord is just flawless, but that's why they put their own foot in their mouth, and they messed up by, we already knew, by continuing to show us that they got money. You have money. It's what you're choosing to utilize it for. And for it to only be 8 months in, I know we only got just a few more short months before this calendar year is over, but for this to almost be 12,000 evictions, and you're going to be you're going to get on the news and say, but there is nothing we can do because of the economy and, the real estate and, stop. Because then I keep hearing about this stimulus check that's supposedly coming out. Listen, y'all have the money. You have the money. Utilize it for what people need, not what they want. And that was the issue. Maybe instead of just giving out all this free money that people were able to use for whatever they wanted to use it for, you should have allocated it for them to use it in certain ways. So this money is set up in your name, but you can only use it for this. Because according to your financial portfolio, you cannot be allowed just no free money. So we're going to allocate, but then that would mean people being intentional in doing their job. So never mind. But that's just horrible. That's sad to think. So where are all these people going? And this is in the midst of y'all still allowing migrants to come here. Because earlier this year, because if this was from January up until now, earlier this year it was still this huge flux of migrants that y'all were inviting in. So how was that working?
Vivian, on your way out, what you got to say?
I just think that as we're drawing closer to the race, to who we're going to vote for, we really got to pay attention to what's going on. Because if it wasn't for socially conscious news, I wouldn't be paying attention to any of this. But when we start hearing what's really going on out here in this world, it's just mind blowing. So we really got to make sure that we're paying attention, we're informed, so we can get out in these polls and make the right decision. We need to get out and vote, because just like literally each and every one of us had different things that we were concerned about. I was education, Shantice was housing, Tamika was safety. We need to know what's going on in order for us to make an informative vote. So make sure that you're paying attention. Make sure you're paying attention and make time to get out there and vote.
All right. Thank you so much for your contribution into today's conversation, and we pray you have a blessed day.
Thank you. You too. Have a good day.
Thank
ladies.
you.
Good day.
Have a good one.
So we've got this almost $12,000, 11,500 evictions since the beginning of the year. That's an average of 1,400 evictions a month. Now, the problem is this is some residual from the pandemic time. Now, remember, there was a freeze. They couldn't do anything. Landlords couldn't do anything. Courts were closed. So I believe they started opening back up to deal with this in 2022 to 2023. So you've got people, like you said, Tamika, who had a freeze on, you don't have to pay rent, blah, 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 blah. And they got real comfortable. And they did not pick up when the doors did open back up to, say, well, here's your, I think you were the one who mentioned, like we had said another time when we had this conversation, save your money. So say, yes, I've been saving my money, because despite the fact that people lost income with the pandemic money that was being given out, there was something you could have held on to. Something. So, even if you brought $5 to the courthouse, $5, and you said to the judge, here's, I owe $100, but here's $25. He or she could have said, well, you know what? We see you've been working toward it. But how many of us went up in there with nothing and had nothing to say? And I know people, and I know that this is what they did. They milked the system for not having to pay anything. They bled it, and they just took their chances. And here you are. Now, there are those who really honestly could not. And no matter what they did, they just could not. And is that what we're talking about here? What do we have more of is the real question. And I don't think we'll ever get the answer to that question. What do we have more of? But this housing issue, again, is something that needs to be addressed. Why are we having a housing issue? Shantice talked about it. All this land we have out here, and we've talked about it here ad nauseum. All the land that we have out here, what y'all doing with it? When you put up these buildings and you call it affordable housing, is it really affordable housing? The numbers that I've been seeing when I look at the ads and the qualifications, I'm like, this ain't no affordable housing. Who's making this kind of money on a consistent basis? Who has child care? Who has, utilities that they have to pay? Who has bills? Who has the basic needs that they have to take care of? Who has children? This is not affordable housing. So I think they need to redefine affordable housing so that this housing issue can be properly addressed. And until we do that, I think we're going to still have a lot of evictions. Now, here's the funny part. In all of this, y'all, do y'all remember us talking about the squatter issue and how these people were able to go set up in other people's homes? Y'all knew as judges that these people did not belong there. You knew that these people were squatting, and you did not put them out, but you got 253 evictions that did take place. Can you imagine that? What shortcomings are we dealing with, Tamika, when you have an issue of, hey, you didn't put the squatters out, but you put the people who should have been in apartments out? What are we talking about here?
It's just like the Bible. Unfortunately, what should be right in situations is wrong. I'm just going to do what needs to be done for me. You can't go away for a period of time. You figure you're going to go take care of a relative or go see a relative,
right?
Come back and somebody's in your home. You have valid paperwork. When you own a property, there is a thing called a deed that you can say, hey, this is my property. I've been here for the length of time. I've had this property since then and there. And for somebody who has no rights to your property to literally have the right to stay, and then you say to me that they have the right, and I can prove to you, I have documentation that says that I own this property. That's unbelievable. And for you to validate for them doesn't make sense. And we keep seeing it across the board, how everything that should be right is upside down. This world is topsy-turvy.
Right. Shantice, what are we talking about here? We had people showing bogus paperwork that said, I have a right to be here. And yet the literal owner could not get a leg in the door.
Most of the time they didn't have paperwork. The judges knew they were squatters. They didn't deny being a squatter, but somehow they had rights. They had rights, period, and they had rights to stay there. And it's like everyone is being selective. Everyone is being selective. Everyone is choosing what it is they want to bring the gavel down on, what it is they want to pay attention to, what it is they really want to sink their teeth into, because that makes absolutely no sense. So what is the point in me doing my just due and paying my rent or my mortgage and keeping receipts and paperwork and all of that if at any moment somebody can come in and just say that they belong here? So I should be able to do the same. So I don't have to pay any rent. I don't have to pay a mortgage. I could just have my furniture here, and I could just say, well, my furniture was here first, and that should be enough to say that I should be able to stay and they shouldn't. So what were the grounds on all of these families or all of these individuals being evicted? What was the just cause? Because they missed a few months, or and my thing is, if it was because you were backed up because of the pandemic, then that needs to be pardoned. That should be pardoned. If you see that
when you say pardoned, that means that if it was a freeze during the pandemic,
right? So
nobody could be put out. The mortgage companies could not address homeowners. Homeowners could not address tenants. So everything was at a freeze. So when they finally opened up the door to the courts being, active in this issue, which part are you saying should have been at a pardoned?
So if it's kind of go back to what Vivian was saying. If it's shown that, okay, all of this was going on, it was at a freeze, but even with the stimulus and whatever you were getting, you still haven't been able to catch up, but you've been making payments. You've been showing that you've been attempting to get back on track. And if now, 5 years later, you just somehow were not able to get back on track, then you shouldn't get kicked out for that. Now, if it was just showing you just wasn't paying anything, and it's showing that they gave you money, but you still was just like, well, I'm good, then that's something completely different. But it's almost like the credit card debt. After a while, after 7 years, everything is pardoned. Okay, so now if it's showing that you were doing your due diligence and catching up, or for whatever reason you weren't, because like you said, you wouldn't allow me to put my tenant out when they were just sitting on their behind doing nothing. So how it's like, Y'all picking and choosing, so you're making it really hard. It's like y'all can get to do whatever you want, but now we have to live by this integral code. And yes, everyone should be focused on doing what they're supposed to do. At the same time, you have to be realistic. How is it that the powers that be can pick and choose, but yet you expect us to stand on our agreement? Y'all have an agreement to abide by as well. Y'all are supposed to be protecting those who are doing their due diligence. As a homeowner, I do my due diligence by paying my mortgage. You do your due diligence by keeping record of it as well. And there's a level of protection you grant me because I'm paying you to be here. But now you're telling me anybody else can do whatever they want where I'm paying, but yet you still expect me to pay. So now there's a squatter here, but you're going to look for me to pay, not him or her. If we all go to court somehow, you're going to look for me to pay, but you're not going to tell them they have to leave. How does this work?
Well, food for thought. It's something to definitely think about. And the cycle is so nasty that we end up with questions like this. We end up at this junction where you're 12,000 evictions, pretty much. That's a lot of people homeless. A lot of people where they're living in overcrowded situations. This is a lot. Now, here's the interesting part. Since January to now, what's his name? Trump has focused on all this deportation. That's opened up a whole lot of housing. Hundreds of thousands of people have been removed from this country. Why do we still have a homeless issue? Why do we still have this issue? I don't know. Tamika, what's your thought? You've been focusing on the wrong thing.
Absolutely. And when you focus on the wrong thing, it affects all of the three things that we talked about.
Right.
It affects the safety of everybody at large. It affects housing because you got apartments that have been vacant for 6, 7, 10 years. And there's nobody living there. You don't have property. You have property that's been closed. I got a piece of property right on the corner of my block. That thing has been empty for I don't know how long. It's just a piece of land. They finally took it down, and now they're doing something with it, but nobody knows what they're doing with it. They have construction.
Wow.
But again, that could have been somebody's home for years, and school safety, or I mean schooling. You've got to worry about now you don't have a place to live. How are you going to worry about, your child going to school? And take care of the things that matter the most to us. How are we supposed to function if we don't have a place to live? We are not safe, and our children can't even prosper in school.
Right. Focusing completely on the wrong thing. I was looking back at the stories that we talked about, and one of the things that was said was when going back to the story of the school safety and being so young, that they want to implement empathy training. They say, and more empathy training needs to take place. Can you teach empathy? Tamika.
We're talking about a whole totally different mindset of people. I feel like there is a thread or a fiber sometimes with our younger set. They get so easily bothered, so easily angered. And fine, you can give me all the training that you possibly can. However, I am who I am. Something jump off in the school, I'm gonna show you that I can show you better than I can tell you is the mentality of our younger set. And so I could see something jumping off easily, especially considering the fact that you got somebody younger trying to test you, and you in that age set have to prove that, I got this, as opposed to trying to de-escalate the situation. A lot of times it's more assert. I want to assert my authority. And sometimes that's not what's
Right.
needed. Sometimes you need to literally just say to this youth in a different set, calm your demeanor so that it calms their demeanor. And somebody who's a
Right.
little older can say, listen, that's not what this is, you know, and somebody a little younger would be ready to throw fists. So you can teach it, but is it innate? No.
Okay. Shatis, Tamika says it's not innate and you could teach it. Do you agree?
I don't know. Empathy comes from, no, you can't. Empathy comes from, I know what you're going through. I can relate. You can't teach someone to relate. You either relate or you don't. You know, I can relate to someone with anger issues because I know what it is to really be an angry person. Like that be my demeanor, my lifestyle. But you can't teach, you can teach sympathy before you can teach empathy. Because empathy is, I know exactly what you're going through, not be gentle. You know, no, you can't. And even when people can relate, there's still, because they can, it's like, well, I'm gonna max your energy. So, and that's all that would be in that scenario is, you know, we're all around the same age. Oh, I can get just as crazy. And again, because you're in a level of authority, you're going to feel the need to assert yourself. Because they're in a level of authority, you feel the need to let it be known that they can't tell you nothing. It's just going to be this whole big ego thing. But you can't teach someone how to relate to someone else. That's like, how would you? What's the first course? What's the first lesson? Like, how do you teach that? You can't.
So my mind goes into a couple of different areas. Because as you ladies were talking, I was thinking a little deeper about what empathy means. And it means the ability to understand. Shatish uses the word relate. I think relate and understand are two different things. And if you're going to talk about relate, you're absolutely right. You know, you if you've never been through it, you know, you can't relate. However, conceptually, can you relate or understand? So what do I mean by that? When like an addict will tell you, because you're not on drugs, you can't understand. There's no empathy. And I don't necessarily agree with that, because just because I was not addicted to drugs does not mean I don't understand the addiction concept, because I'm addicted to something else. And addiction is addiction. The only difference is the level, the origin, you know. But if you get technical, the origin is still the same. It's just based on where you start from. So can you teach someone empathy? I don't think this is a catchy, I think your terminology is going to make the difference. Because I've watched people over time begin to empathize. Initially, they weren't empathetic at all. But I think when you help someone understand someone else, and that's the definition, learning the ability to understand what a person is going through. And that's why I say relate is different, because relating means, like you said, Shantice, I pretty much had to go through the same thing. Like, say, how can I teach someone how to go through something that I've been through, or how to feel about something that they've never been through? I think if you focus on the ability to understand, I've watched people turn around where, you know, after a time of observation, you know, it's almost like saying, can you put yourself in someone else's shoes? Can you really put yourself in someone else's shoes? Technically, no, but basically, yes, you can. And if you do, then there is that ability to empathize. Here's the problem for me. How long is it going to take for you to learn empathy? Am I making sense? It's like for Tamika, if I had you, Tamika, and you, Shantice, in a class, and we were teaching empathy, you can't teach empathy, but you have to teach the ability to empathize. So, like that's what I said. I think the terminology is like kind of a little tricky here. If I teach you all how to focus on someone else's problem, it's almost like when you tell a person, don't look at a cup as half empty, look at it as half full. You're teaching a person how to shift the concept and the perception. And I think that's what this is. I think, are you gonna just focus on what you've been through and that's it? Or are you gonna say, you know what? I understand now that, Mary or John went through X, Y, and Z. Wow. I can understand that now because I watched it happen. I watched so-and-so over a course of time. But that comes with a level of coaching. So here's the thing. The empathy training would have to be ongoing. Would you agree?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I'm asking,
Yes.
you know what I'm saying? You can't just say, well, you got 6 weeks of empathy training. What happens after the 6 weeks? You ain't learned much because of maybe where you are.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Based on where you are is how, based on how empathetic you can be to someone else's plight. So if you give 6 weeks of empathy training, that may not be done because Shantice may need 8 weeks. Tamika may only need 3 weeks. It's based on who you are. And I honestly believe that this is also based on the God in you. And I want us to close with that. Tamika, I'll let you start out. Empathy is aided with the God in you. Agree or disagree?
I do agree. And there has to be a desire to empathize. With no desire.
That's right. That's right.
I have to be able to look at a situation and assess all of the things that are going on, not just the fact that this child is spazzing out, but look at, what happened prior to, was this person targeted? Was this person bullied? Not just this one moment, and empathy, it entails all of that. When I used to work for my company, we used to get calls all the time. People are irate. I mean, unnegotiable. They're screaming and hollering, and at that point, I can't look at the screaming and hollering and being targeted at that moment. I have to understand what is going on. What really is going on? Did something happen prior to my call? Were they ignored? Were they neglected? Were they, and if we're talking about the school system, were they bullied? Did they speak to somebody prior to? What is going on at home? That's another aspect that people don't look at. This child is acting out at school because he has or she has no one to talk to at home. And so all of that plays a role. The God in you has to come out, because if the you in you comes out, there's all kinds of chaos that can come out. Your mood swings, your own disposition, your own background, things that are going on in your life can push to the forefront. So you have to, God, before you even get to the school system and the school setting, God, show me what it is that I need to see. Because in my flesh, I'm looking at this child. But God, the God in me has to come to the forefront so that when this child offends me, I have to say, okay, the God in me says, hold on, wait a minute. Look at all that's going on. Utilize your spiritual gifts and discernment so that when that does happen, and trust and believe it is going to happen. This is the purpose for prayer. Prior to leaving, God, when I leave my home today, help me to deal with what I encounter in the school system. And when it does come, help me to know what to do at the moment when it does happen.
Right. Absolutely. That's exactly what I'm talking about, Tamika. That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Thank you so much. Shantice, how are we closing this thing down?
Let God help you shut up so that you can listen more. You can't listen when you're angry. Shutting up doesn't only mean talking. It means shutting your thoughts down, shutting what you think is right down, so that he can help you be a good listener. And not only listening to things that are audible, but listening to the attitudes, listening to the actions, listening to listen, as school safety, you're gonna be the newbie. Whoever's there, somebody gonna put you on to the annoying kids, the quiet kids, the kids that are sus. They're gonna put you onto the faculty, even though you're not supposed to be manning them. They're gonna put you on all of that. They're gonna let you know. It's just like being in an office building and everybody starts chatting and talking, same thing. So you have to be willing to submit to God so that he can tell you where your antennas need to be up. So if you're the one manning if you're the school safety who's manning the metal detectors, there's a certain level of alertness you need versus the one that's just sitting behind the desk, taking people's IDs and signing them in and letting them go wherever they're going to go in the school building. But you have to be willing to submit to God and ask him to help you shut up. I do. Those are the words I use. God, help me shut up so I can pay attention. I can't be alert. School safety is just like being a cop. You just don't have the gun. You have to be alert. If you're so busy talking, and if you're so busy already trying to prepare for, I wish somebody would come up and hit, shut up. You just pay attention. Again, doing the damage control. God teaches you how to be proactive so you don't have to always do damage control, because everyone is not damage control material. Right? This is why they talk about empathy classes. Because everyone is not damage control material, and it's no shade, but that's not where everyone is. Some people are better just helping to prevent it from even getting started. Like, even if you think about it, just think about when you've been a witness to scenarios where it's been that one person who's been trying to prevent it, and then when all hell breaks loose, they're like, you know what, and they back off, and you don't see them for the rest of the scenario because they ain't got nothing to do with how to fix it. They can't. They don't want. That's not their level of expertise. You know, but as school safety, you have to know how to be on both sides, how to be proactive, and if things get out of control, how to do damage control. How can you be effective on either side? By allowing God to direct you on how you need to be. So you have to submit to him in order to be successful in that.
Amen, ladies. Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your contribution into today's conversation. And we pray you have a blessed day. Wonderful closings. Wonderful closings. Thank you. Woo! We got a check-in from Ms. Kyra. Hey, Kyra, good morning. How are you? Better late than never, girl. You can always go back and watch from the beginning so you can catch up. Thank you for joining us. So, I was looking at TV last night, and there was it was a cop show, and it was a white cop talking to a black cop. And the scenario was that the black cop had a young kid who had committed a crime, and he was covering it up. Illegal, shouldn't have been doing it, but covering it up because he understood the plight of being in a situation and not having many choices, or being up against, supposedly the young kid had done a shooting, but he was threatened that if he did not do the killing, then that person would kill him. So the white cop said to him, I understand what you did. I don't agree, but I understand. And I have to think about, when we're doing this job, when both of us are doing this job, I have to think about it from your, because the white cop was to his superior, the black cop's superior. He said, I have to think about and I have to be aware of how you have to deal with this versus the way I deal with it. And there was some empathy in, okay, I know you let this kid go, because he watched him with some mannerisms and like nodding his head and things like that. And he caught it. The lieutenant caught it, but he didn't come down hard on him, because at the end of the day, he said he understood that when I'm out in the hood, it's different for me than it is for you. You see these kids one way, I see them another way. All I see is a criminal. As a white cop, all I see is a criminal. As a cop, all I see is a criminal. However, I gotta see it through your eyes. Through your eyes, you're seeing a black kid who was on a path to something good. Something ended up derailing that. And if the kid could have made a different decision, he would have made a different decision. And that means everything to you as a black man. Now, I can't even imagine what it must have been like for you, what it must be like for you as a black cop who says to yourself, if someone hadn't given me a chance, I wouldn't be a cop today. I could not now go back into the hood and make the difference had someone not stepped out and helped me out. So I thought it was a really interesting exchange. So to come up on this particular topic today and ask, can empathy be taught? Absolutely. But again, it's the presentation of it all. It's someone who is staying in there long enough to understand. A lot of people get sympathy and empathy mixed up. I feel sorry for so-and-so because of what they're going through. And that can lead you down the wrong road, because all you're thinking about is, I feel sorry for so-and-so. That's it. And we can't do that. The only way you're going to be able to make a proper discernment is if the Spirit of the Lord is there. Because this is a job. I don't think a lot of people understand it. This is a job. There's a job in empathy and sympathy. You've got, especially if you're in some level of authority, you have to learn how to be empathetic and sympathetic. You got to learn when to be empathetic and when to be sympathetic. This ain't something that, is just you're going to get it right all the time. And sometimes you can do the right things for the wrong reasons, and you can do the wrong things for the right reason. So we're going to keep it twisted. Just because we are carnal people, just because we're flawed individuals, just because we just are emotional. People love to say, oh, women are emotional creatures. Stop. Men are a whole lot more emotional than we believe. And the only reason why it's not flagged as often is because it's internal. They internalize things. Where women are just vocal, you saying things and you crying and you yelling and you all flipping out, and no, they're going to go drink. They're going to go drug. They're going to get high blood pressure because they're keeping it in. They're going to, exact that into something else. They're going to take it out in the wrong place. They're not going to deal with it at all. Oh my gosh, that's the biggest thing. They'll move on like nothing ever even happened. Women are not like that. So we are considered the emotional creatures. And in actuality, there's no. Mm-mm. I've seen it. God makes the difference. And Shantice, I told you to write it down, and now I'm remembering what I wanted to talk about. So I'll try to tie it in here as vaguely as I can. I am watching a whole lot of wrong for the right. A whole lot of wrong things being done for the right reason. And you can't tell because you're so saturated by emotions. You can't tell because it's situational to you. And when you have the Spirit of the Lord, let me say this to you. When you have the Spirit of the Lord, but you still moving on your own, when you have the Spirit of the Lord and you still doing what you want to do, God help you. You need help because you are wasting that gift. Do you realize that the Spirit of the Lord is a gift to keep us from making just bad decisions? Because we are all very capable of doing so. And if we don't check that thing, we're going to continue to make bad decisions. Now, here's the problem with making bad decisions, because I literally had someone ask me, how come I just can't make bad decisions and just deal with the consequence? That's scary because we don't understand what the consequences may be. Or we understand what the consequences may be, but throw caution to the wind. Or we'll underestimate. Oh, well, it'll only, the worst case scenario. No. But if you have that Spirit of the Lord and you're utilizing it, the Spirit of the Lord is taking care of your business. Oh, did I just say that? Let the Spirit of the Lord take care of your business. Oh, whoa. That thing just hit me. Oh, whoa. Let the Spirit of the Lord take care of your business. Why? Because when you don't have God, you are floating on your own. You ain't got no other choice. You just making all kinds of decisions, whether they're right or whether they're wrong. But when that gift is given to you, you love the gift and stop moving on your own. Let the Spirit of the Lord make your decisions. Let the Spirit of the Lord handle your business, because I promise you, if you allow the Spirit of the Lord to handle your business, you will not make a mistake. Why? Because it ain't no you. Oh! So you are not involved. And that's what you need. Let me help you with something here. We don't need to be involved in nothing. Can I tell you? We don't have the capability of being involved. We don't have the capability right now of being of the wheel. We don't have the capability to make the right decisions right now. We just don't. This world is being run by the enemy. We talked about it yesterday. And when the enemy is in control, this is what happens. Everything looks beautiful. Everything looks right. Nothing looks wrong. We underestimate everything because he has the ability. He can make himself look like an angel of light, which means that things ain't never gonna appear as bad as they really are. But see, that's only momentary. That's only temporary. That is not gonna last forever. Only what you do for Christ will last. So now that you've allowed the enemy to shift your thinking, to shift your view, and you start making emotional decisions and things that you think is right, and then we pop the wall from underneath your feet, because I promise you he will, because that's what he loves. He loves to mess with the children of God. See, the sinful people, he ain't got nothing to do with them, because he already done commanded their movement. But when he can take down those of us who claim to be in the Lord, now he's winning. Do you understand? That if you allow him to win, I keep telling you about this screw effect and this nail effect. And let me tell you what I'm observing more and more. See, let me help you understand what the nail effect is. The nail effect is we make a mistake, no matter how long this mistake been going on, whether it's quick or whether it's a long time. And when we turn it around and we decide to do the right thing, it's like pulling the nail up out the wall. It's almost like it didn't even happen, because God has decided to let it happen like that. However, what I'm noticing is because God is leaving us more to a reprobate mind, or more of us to a reprobate mind, most of us are dealing with the screw effect. So when we make a decision and it's the wrong one, whether it's a quick one or if we didn't live in this decision, we're going to have to eat that bad boy. We're going to have to eat that thing. we're going to have to live in that thing for a minute. And let me tell you something. We can't handle it. We are crumbling. We are breaking. We are going to pieces. We cannot handle it. We can't. So here's what happens. Because the screw effect is happening and it's taking so long to get up out that thing, guess what? We're going to make another bad decision trying to get out the thing, because see, we're not going to wait long enough for God to do the job. We're not going to watch long enough for God to kind of let me sit in this thing so that when I come out, I've learned a lesson. See, I want it to be quick. We had a prayer. We had a prayer of coming up out of our bad decisions quickly. We want to get out of it quickly. Oh my God, I can't help. I can't take it. It hurts so bad. So what do? You make a move so that the hurt will stop. And that's the wrong move. So now you into another bad decision. Opposed to just kind of sitting in that hot seat for a minute and saying, you know what, God, I got myself here. And whatever you going to teach me during this period of being in this hot seat, so that I can make sure I don't do this thing anymore, I'm just going to sit here, because it wasn't you. You tried to prevent me from doing this. And how do I know you tried to prevent me from doing this? Because you gave me the Spirit of the Lord. Oh, that's the epitome. From doing the wrong thing. He gives us a perfect gift, a gift that never sleeps, a gift that never slumbers, a gift that never gives up on us. But it keeps ringing that bell. It keeps ringing that bell. It keeps ringing that bell. And we like, nah. I know what I'm doing is right. Nah. I feel it in my heart. Nah. My spirit is telling me that's the problem. Your spirit is doing the talking. We have not been smart enough to fall back. Just fall back. And take the passenger seat. We don't want to do that. We're out on our own and we're making a mess of things. And let me help you understand something also. When you are so saturated in focusing here, everything here doesn't even exist. Nothing here exists. None of this is important because we got a one-track mind. And if you call yourself a child of God and that's the way you're operating, shame on you. Yeah. That's what God is wanting. He wants me to say to you today. Shame on you for wasting such a perfect gift. It's almost like somebody gave you a gift for your birthday, an envelope full of money, and you have tons of bills. But what you do is you go outside when the sanitation truck comes and you just tear it up and you hand it to the sanitation man and you say, it's ready for garbage. Stop. God says stop. God says stop. Stop. God says stop it. Stop. Stop wasting my gift. I chose you to give it to. What are you saying to me when you take my perfect gift and you trash it? If you took and you gave someone a gift, let's say you were the one who gave that person that whole envelope of money, and you just happened to be driving by that day and it was in a lime green envelope. And as you were waiting behind the sanitation truck in your car, you watched that person walk up to the sanitation man, rip up that lime green envelope and hand it to him. And that was the envelope that you just gave. You sacrificed. And that's what God did. He sacrificed his son, who sacrificed his life. He gave up his son, who sacrificed his life to go back and sit next to God on his throne to send back the gift. Oh, and what are we doing with it? 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 That's what God is asking this morning. What are you doing with that gift? Were you saying thank you to me for giving you that gift? Because see, that gift, it was a trail of the presentation that was given to us. Because see, the Holy Spirit has existed since the beginning. However, it wasn't until after Jesus died, suffered on the cross and died, that he went back. After he rose, he went back so that it could be sent, and the day of Pentecost came. And ever since then, the gift has been given over and over again. And I know that when you make these bad decisions, you're making them on your own. Because see, if you were to tell someone that I'm a Christian, I've been baptized, and I've been making these bad decisions, and the Holy Spirit hasn't been working, you're a liar. Because the Holy Spirit always works. Always. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. While we sleep, while we slumber, while we're moving, when we're active, when we're cooking, when we're cleaning, when we're at work, when we're walking, when we're talking, it's always. Always. Stop wasting the gift. Show God that you are appreciative of the plan. Oh, show him you're appreciative of the plan. And you know what, God? Right now, that's it for me. That's it for me. That's it for me. That's it for me, God. I didn't look at it this way. But thank you for using Pastor Steph this morning to deliver this message. Thank you for using the Due Time crew this morning to deliver this message. Because I just didn't see it like that. But you put it like that. I'm on board. I'm going to stop doing the stupid things that I'm doing. I'm going to stop doing the unwise things that I'm doing. I'm going to stop moving emotionally. I'm not going to be making this mess of things. Because see, I can't deal with the repercussions. I would just be honest, God. I can't deal with the consequences. So to do it your way, because see, your way is the best way. Not sometimes, all the time. I have to wait for that result. But your way is going to work out all the time. Every time. Not once, not twice. Every time. I just got to be a little more patient this time. But you know what? I'm going to exact the fruit of the Spirit. Joy, love, and most importantly, self-control, patience. And I'm just going to sit and wait for you. I'm going to stop trying to tell everybody how right I am. I'm going to stop trying to tell everybody this makes sense when I know. Let me tell you something. When you're doing stuff that ain't biblical, when you're doing stuff that the word of God is talking against, you know you're wrong. You know you're wrong. But because we are emotional, because we want to move the way we want to move, because we've got a plan. No matter, I am watching people with such a cockeyed plan, and the word of God is speaking against this thing. And I'm saying to myself, how? Where? What? Even, if we think we're right, if I do anything, I got to make sure it aligns with the word of God. Because I'm listening. listening. So maybe my reading comprehension might be a little better than my listening skills. You ever talk to somebody, it's like, okay, you're not listening because that ain't what I asked you. That's not what I said. Maybe your reading excels past your listening. If whatever you want to do is not written in that word of God that gives you the green light, and you have more red lights than green lights, you need to sit yourself down and surrender to the Lord and ask him to help you with your thinking and your decision making. Because an unstable man is unstable in all his ways. Baby, I promise you, that ain't the only place you making a bad decision in. Oh, by far. There's a lot of other, and remember now, because I'm looking this way, I didn't block all of this out. So that means bad decision here. Because if I'm not paying attention to the stuff that I need to be paying attention to, I'm making a bad decision. Because I'm ignoring something that I need to be paying attention to. What am I ignoring to pay attention to? What am I not paying attention to so that I can pay attention? Oh, I hope you're picking this up, because I don't know when it's going to come through again. Because see, God ain't going to keep on, and keep on, and keep on. He says, after a while, I'm going to leave you to a reprobate mind. Now, here's the problem. We don't know at what point the reprobate mind is going to kick in. So right now, you might already be at that reprobate mind. But here's what I love about God. He never shuts the door on you. So even if you're in that reprobate mind zone, you still, because you got the Spirit of the Lord, you can come back. You can always come back to God. Apologetically, humbly, lovingly, gently. God, I'm here. I just can't do this thing no more. But get there. Please get there now. Because we don't know how long that screw effect is here. And that's the bad part. Because even if he restores you, it doesn't say you're not going to deal with the consequence of your decision. And that hurts. That hurts. Because see, in your head, all you're saying is, I'm doing it right now. Why I got to deal with that? We all go through it. Transparency moment, and Shanti says, I'm dealing with something. I kept asking God, what is it? Why? What is it? He didn't answer for a long time. And let me tell you something about Stephanie and God. God talks to me. Now, you call me crazy if you want to. It's okay. God deals with me very heavily. But it was something about this question that he just wouldn't answer. And finally, after years of asking, he finally said, here's why. And I was like, oh my God. That was 30 years ago. A little more than 30 years ago. And the Spirit of the Lord said, you've been restored, but you had to deal with that consequence. Because you tampered with God. Now that was done during a time that I did not say yes to God. But it doesn't mean I don't have to deal with it. It doesn't mean that the consequence is not there. But it means I'm going to have to eat that thing. So my prayer today is that all that has been said spontaneously, because it was time to close down. I didn't even look at the time. It was time to close down quite a while ago. But God opened this up for a reason. Why? Who is watching this right now that I'm speaking to? Who will watch this later that need to hear this? Somebody. God does not have me speaking to you at this level for no reason. Not at all. So come on. I need you to get on board. I need you to get on board. And I need you to pay attention. Even if you got to go back. And say, let me listen to this from the beginning. because that would be my advice. Just in case you missed something, just in case you sneezed or, you turned your head that quick, we could miss the most important thing. So I invite you again. Let's allow the Spirit of the Lord to do his job. Let's not quench the Spirit of the Lord. Let's stop sitting in the driver's seat and move on over to the passenger seat and let God and Jesus take the wheel. After a while, we have got to admit it's time for us to stop driving. In real life, there are people who are still 80 years old renewing licenses. I'm sorry. Your senses ain't what it was when you were 18. Come up out that driver's seat. Just come on over. And they don't want to let go. Because for some reason that's like, if I let go, that means that I'm not who I am. You are. You are not who you used to be. So it's okay. God has gotten the best out of you in that driving department. But now it's time for you to sit over in that passenger seat and let somebody else drive. Well, guess what? It's no different for you. You've been driving long enough. God has allowed you to drive this truck long enough. And now he says, all right, move over. Get in the passenger seat. It's my turn. Can't you see that when you're driving, you keep running into the dead end? Can't you see when you drive, you're going down the wrong one-way street the wrong way? You don't see this? Don't you see that every time you want to put the brakes on, you make a mistake and push the gas pedal? Or when you want to push the gas pedal, you push the brake? Can't you see that your senses ain't what it used to be? So when you used to do it and all you had the greatest results, it was working. Can't you see it ain't working no more? Because I'm letting you know that I let you ride long enough. I let you drive long enough. Now it's time for you to move over. Prior to us giving our lives to the Lord, God has allowed us to do whatever we wanted to do. Think about it. So whether we give our lives to the Lord at 18, 28, 38, 48, 58, whatever it is, he has allowed us to operate the wheel all that time. It's time to give up. Stop making sense out of nonsense and let Jesus handle your business. You've been watching It's Due Time with Pastor Steph. Join us Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. where we discuss matters of the heart, mind, and spirit. As you go through your day, be sure to set your mind on things that are above, not on things that are on the earth. They will only serve as a distraction. Remember, prayer changes things. It's Pastor Steph signing off, and I want to thank my Due Time crew, the ladies, for coming through big time. Thank you for hanging out with us today. Please, 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 please take this opportunity right now to give your life to Christ. Please take this opportunity right now to strengthen that relationship with the Lord, because later isn't promised to anyone, and you don't want to die living a sinful life when you thought you were doing it right. Don't forget, tomorrow, God spares, tomorrow evening, it's my 2 cents time, and it's going to be at 7:30 with Brother Ainsley, Shantice, and myself, and we're going to be reviewing School Days, which was your old school joint, and we're going to be reviewing Bosco. So come on, get that. Listen, you got all for the rest of the day, after work, evening, overnight, whatever. You've got up until 7:30 tomorrow to look at whichever movie you haven't seen, because we're going to have a laughing good time talking about those movies. So come on, join us. And if I don't see you, I'm hoping to see you soon thereafter. But God spares until tomorrow, where it's Therapeutic Thursday. Until then, I love